inshallah. But what I wanted to close on and touch on was he talks about how to remove these character traits, and it's something that's really important that we are constantly working and striving to do. And there's a reason I made it as a cycle. Just because I identify a trait, does it mean that I'm done? No, right? There's always going to be something that I'm constantly working on identifying. There's constantly working on removing, constantly working on cleaning myself. This is part of Tazkiyah Pt.2. Right? This is part of purifying ourselves. So here, what is the most dangerous reason for anger? And this is Ghazali's kind of final discussion. And he says that what the ignorant can do, bravery, manhood, self-respect, drive, and other similar traits. Sound familiar? So here he said, what's the most dangerous reason for anger? He says it's what the ignorant. So he says that people who believe this are actually ignorant. And what is it they believe? They believe that anger manifests, and when it manifests, this is actually manliness. This is actually a sign of bravery. This is actually self-respect, drive. And I don't use this often, but this is actually what we consider in modern day terminology to be what? A toxic masculinity. Right? This is actually toxic masculinity. Does bravery exist? Is it a real thing? Yes, absolutely. Should it be a character trait that a man has? Yes, absolutely. This is something that's fundamental. Manlyhood. What is manlyhood? What does it mean? Being strong is part of it, but protect, right? You know, to provide that protection, to provide that security, to be the one that is relied upon, right? This is part of being a man, right? This is what true manlyhood is. It's not what? It's not getting angry, right? And like controlling your anger. So some people, they confuse it. And what is Ghazali? Ghazali, he says this is actually the most dangerous reason. Why do you think he said it's the most dangerous one? I'm sorry?
It can lead to violence.
Okay, yes, for sure. But I don't think that's why he mentions it. It's because these people believe what? That it's right and it's good. Do you see the problem? All of the other ones, it's easier to recognize that what? It's a vice, right? It's a problem. It's something that I need to work on, something I need to remove. But what if I actually think that this is good in and of itself? Am I going to try to remove it? No, right? I'm not going to remove it. I'm going to try to fan those flames. Yes?
I have a question in my head, like soldiers,
Yeah.
you make them so they can go fight. Is there a distinction?
Sure. I mean, they can be, but the thing is do you keep them angry, or do you anger them in the moment of battle? You know what I mean? Like, that's more like rules of engagement, war tactics, like not like soldiers just always sitting there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how healthy it is to stay in like a heightened state of anger constantly. So he says this becomes something that now is carried forward in society. It's carried forward in culture, and you have people who are practicing this to the point now you have most powerful in society practicing this. You have figureheads who are practicing this, and when those figureheads do this, how does everybody else view that?
It's okay.
Not just it's okay. They are the example. They want to try to be like them, and when they want to try to be like them, this is something that again it just creates that cycle where people are going to push forward these character traits. That is something that should be striven for. And he said this is actual ignorance. Like, you know, confusing this anger for manlyhood, confusing this anger for bravery, confusing this angry for chivalry. Right? This is not what it is. This is not what anger is supposed to be. Right? The anger in this light is not a positive thing. Yes. Absolutely. You know, absolutely. And why? Again, the problem is the justification, because they think what they're doing is actually what? They think what they're doing is right. You know what I mean? So why do you have certain practicing Muslim men abusing their wives? Because they think it's right. They think they're justified in doing that, and they think that this is part of manlyhood, right? This is part of rujula. Or the fact that, you know, that they're even being emotionally oppressive or being spiritually oppressive. Like they think that no, this is what you're supposed to do, and this is where anger is supposed to express, and this is where it's supposed to manifest. You know, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. He said that, and this is a true sickness of the heart. This is a true sickness of the heart, and this deserves and requires a cure. He said, and it is a sign of somebody who actually has a deficient intellect. He keeps going, by the way. He doesn't stop here. Right? He says this person has weak character and self-respect. You know, it's in his subhanAllah, it's amazing. This guy wrote this 900 years ago. This is not like, this is not like a psychology book that you pick up, that's just published like within the past X number of years. There's a lot of depth here, right? There's a lot of depth here, and it's very telling because these are the same things that we hear today, right? It's like not new information for some of us. And it clearly wasn't new information for him. Rahimahullah. I'm sorry? Why do you think that is? Lack of knowledge for sure. But lack of knowledge also, there's something that isn't taught in the communities.
It's tolerance of it.
Huh?
Like how to be a healthy man.
How to be a healthy man. Which goes back to what? Character. Who teaches character? It's just not a common thing. So what are common things that they'll teach in a community? They'll teach how to read the Qur'an. They'll teach fiqh. Right? They'll teach tajweed. What else will they? Beyond this, what other classes are there? Maybe hadith. Maybe Riyadh al-Salihin. But how to engage the self? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? How to engage the self? Khutbah, come to my class. Right? No, like, how to engage the self, how to remove these evil character traits, how to better oneself. Why isn't this being taught? This is the question that we need to ask. Huh? Because it's a bid'ah. I agree. It's a bid'ah hasana. Yes.
I want to say something. Like sometimes we say, like we try to cure something, but we go extreme. Like
Sure.
to be like there must be balance. If you cannot go very soft guy as a,
What is
cannot be
okay?
very soft.
What does it mean to be soft?
Like the self-respect. You say like you cannot
Sure.
set the boundaries. You just say,
So I'm saying like going from angry. Ghazali, we spoke about this last class. What did he say? The opposite of anger is what? No. He said uncaring. Right?
yeah, okay, yeah.
Indifference. Right? This person, they've become so cold. What happened? They just don't care anymore. It doesn't matter what happens. They're just totally indifferent to it. Is that healthy? No, it's not. So and that's where the balance comes in. Right, that's where the balance comes in. That's where he talks about a lot of these things. And it's important, man. It's important that we have, again, even all of these discussions that we have, you see a lot of it revolving around some major concepts. Some of those major concepts being self-respect and personal boundaries. Right? How do I define those boundaries? If I define those boundaries, it becomes that much easier to practice a lot of these things. Like you can't talk to me like that, or you can't speak to me like that, or no, I'm not comfortable doing that. Right? You know what I mean? Like and subhanAllah, I think and I feel that one of the most powerful things that we can actually teach our children is to say no.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, and encourage them. If they don't want to do something, or they don't want to be somewhere, or they don't want to be next to a person, you know what I mean? Like, oh, it's just, it's his uncle, it's her uncle, she wants to do that. She's not comfortable? I'm not, no. It's okay. Teach her to trust her intuition. Teach her that it's okay. If you don't want to do something, you don't have to do it. Don't feel socially pressured. Don't feel culturally pressured. You are independent and you can make those decisions. So the stages of anger, he mentions like a whole bunch of different ones. I'm just going through them. So he said like, a sick person he has a tendency to be angrier than a healthy woman has a tendency to be angrier than a man. A child has a tendency to be angrier than an adult. An old man has a tendency to be angrier than a middle-aged. A poor-mannered person has a tendency to be angrier than a well-mannered one. A lowly person tends to get angry over a morsel of food. Stinginess, like, a little bit of money. And what happens is this misguided anger ends up going toward his family and his children. And this is something that we see, something that we experience. When we see abusive fathers or abusive husbands, why are they hitting their children or why are they hitting their wives? Usually over food, you know what I mean? Like meatloaf, you know what I mean? Like, and they'll just start hitting. You know what I mean? Like these small things trigger them. These small things trigger them. Why? Because they're lowly anyway. These people are low-class, low-minded people. And all these small little things trigger them. And why do they take it out here? Why do they take it out on their family and children? Because they're vulnerable, they're weaker than them. And they know that they won't be able to respond. So, what is strength? This is a question because we talked about manlyhood, what is strength? Strength, the one who controls himself when he's angry. And this is based off what? This is a very clear hadith. Strong is not the one who overcomes the people by his strength, but the strong one is he who controls himself while in anger. This is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this needs to be remedied, right? This idea of like being angry and like, this idea of manly. So he says, how does this happen and how do you deal with people who have this problem? He says by sharing stories. And I really thought this was an interesting remedy. You share stories of righteous people. And why? Because the idea is to inspire them to become better than they are. Right? And we want to inspire people to become better than they are. We want you to be better than who you are. And what do? We share prophets, awliya, scholars, wise men of old. All of these people are very important examples, and they show us that, okay, if these people can do it, then I can also achieve that, and I can also do it. And this is where he ends. This is the last thing that he talks about, rahimahullah ta'ala. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala khayri khalqin, nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Any questions? No? خلاص. I will see you guys next week, inshallah. وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
Are you sure it's going to be a Wednesday?
I don't know. Tawatur.